People, this is Niger Commando Storytelling Challenge Day 30, and this is wonderful. Thank you for following. Thank you for asking me about my book. Niger Commando is going to be out very soon. Good news in the next few weeks, and we're all going to celebrate the launch of this book. So today's story is titled "It Costs Nothing to Dream." Command Secondary School, Jos, 1990. I was in JS1. Sometimes we'd be very hungry. JS1 boys now. We didn't have enough food. Provisions were finished, and so no food. Sometimes we didn't have options apart from dining food. And if you miss dining food, in my book you are going to read about things we call slamming, action, punking, striking. You read about all those terms in my book Niger Commando. So because of all those activities now, sometimes some of us wouldn't have food and we'll be very hungry, growing children. And so one night prep, I still remember this book, Integrated Science. We had an integrated science textbook, GS1. I was in GS1 Mabo. I still remember where I was sitting, somewhere close to the second to the last row at the back, and I opened my integrated science textbook. There's this chapter about classes of food, and so there were different kinds of food on display. So just the basic food. So you see protein, you see carbohydrates, and you know what I did? Night prep. Our night prep we usually run from maybe about 7 to 10, about 2 to 3 hours. Now I can't remember how many hours now. So what I did that night, I decided to dream about the classes of food. So I'll take one particular food and begin to imagine all the things that could come out of that food. So if I take beans, for instance, I begin to imagine things like moi moi. I begin to imagine things like beans, cooked beans. I begin to imagine things like akara that you make out of it. If I take maize, for instance, corn, I begin to think of all the things you could do with corn, boiled corn, roasted corn. If I take yam, I think of cooked yam, boiled yam, I think of roasted yam, I think of pounded yam. My brothers and sisters, that night prep, I broke that record. I've never done that again in my life, and I don't know if any other human being on earth has successfully done that. They should consider me for the Guinness Book of World Records. So I sat down there while others were reading, thinking about their lives, planning for their future, and I began to think, concentrate. I was focused.